Welcome to Talking Tobacco. I am your host, Bill, and today I'm going to be talking about GL Pease's Chelsea Morning. I was looking back at the episodes, and I don't think I did an English blend yet. And since GL Pease is my favorite blender anyway, and does amazing English blends, I figured let's do my favorite all-time English blend, Chelsea Morning. So spoiler alert, I love this blend. It's amazing. Before I get into that, I wanted to say thank you to the guys that have been filling out the feedback form on the show notes. I got a couple of new responses, and they were both really great. I love hearing back from you guys, and I appreciate the encouragement, because what happens with these podcasts, I actually like doing them. I do one for work every week, which is what takes me so long to get a new episode out for this show, which I plan on doing more regularly. But podcasting's weird, man. It's like, when you post to social media, you kind of get instant feedback. Not that I love social media, but I have Instagram pages, and I have one for this podcast. And when you post a pic, you'll get a like, or you get some comments, and you get to interact, and you get to engage with fellow pipe smokers. And with the podcast, it's kind of like, you record it, then I edit it, then I upload it, and it just kind of goes off into this black hole. And you really don't know who's heard it or what they thought. It's just kind of out there. And if I didn't ask for you guys to fill out this feedback form, I would never know anything. So anyway, I got some really good feedback and some encouragement, and that helps. That little bit helps. I mean, I still enjoy doing it, but I love everybody loves hearing positive feedback, right? And if there was negative feedback, I'm fine with that too, as long as it's constructive and we can help, make positive changes to the show. That's totally fine, of course. But I wanted to say that the majority of the feedback has been about people really enjoying the tobacco talk. That sounds stupid because that's the name of the show, but I mean, there's not much. I love the podcasts that are out there. I do. I listen to them all, but they mostly focus on pipes. And this show, I really just want to talk about tobacco. I love pipes too, but if you think about it, I've heard this question posed many times to guests of other podcasts, and it's like, what do you think about most? Do you think about the tobacco, or do you think about the pipe? Like, when you want to smoke, what do you think about first? Do you think about the pipe you want to grab, or do you think about the tobacco you want to smoke? And I was surprised to hear how many people think about the pipe first. And to me, the pipe is a tool. And actually, that was one of the messages I got on Instagram from a new friend. And he said that, I love pipes, but pipe's the tool, man. And it delivers the heavenly aromas of the pipe tobacco. That's the goal, is the pipe tobacco. And I'm like, yeah, man, I totally get that. So for me, 9 times out of 10, I'm thinking about the tobacco. What time of day is it? What did I just eat? What am I going to be drinking? What am I in the mood for? And it's all about the tobacco. And it might take me another 10 minutes to figure out what I want to smoke. And then I think about what pipe is going to go with that. Which pipe do I like smoking that tobacco with? I have some dedicated Virginia pipes and some dedicated English pipes. And Burleys I tend to smoke. If they're a light Burley, I tend to smoke with my Virginias. If they're a darker Burley, or they're Burley mixed with any kind of Lotta Key or any kind of flavoring, I'll smoke with my English pipes. So that's how I do it. So 9 times out of 10, I'm thinking about the tobacco and what I want to smoke, and then what pipe do I want to put that in. And then every once in a while, I'll think, man, I haven't smoked my, I don't even know, whatever. I haven't smoked my bent billiard in a while. What goes good with that? And that's only like 1 time out of 10 I'll do that. But the majority of the time I'm thinking about the tobacco, because that's what I'm all about, like the tobacco and the flavors and really what I'm drinking. I basically break up my tobacco into 2 categories, a coffee category or a tea category. So first thing in the morning, I'm drinking a coffee, and it's usually a black dark roast coffee. So I have a lot of blends that go well with that. So I'm pretty much smoking almost anything I want, but there's plenty of lighter Virginias that I like to smoke with tea. So I know they're my tea blends. So I'll maybe, if I'm smoking early afternoon with a cup of tea, then, I know what blends I like to smoke with that. I like to have with that. But anyway, thank you for the feedback. Keep it coming. I'm going to edit that form a little bit and put in a couple more questions. Like I do want to know your name, so that helps. So I could say thank you, and like one or two other things. So I'm going to constantly be tweaking that. So feel free to fill that out at any point. Or if you want to DM me on Instagram, it's Talking Tobacco. You'll see two accounts out there. Talking Tobacco is the one I started first. Then I got locked out of it. Then I started Talking Tobacco Podcast, and that's not built up as much. But then I was able to get back in Talking Tobacco. So anyway, just look at the show notes. You'll be able to figure it out. All right, so today I wanted to talk about Chelsea Morning. I would say right now Chelsea Morning is my favorite English blend. And if you listen to this podcast at all in the past, you know that right now I'm on this Virginia kick, and I'm kind of losing my taste for Latakia. I was up until recently. I started smoking some English blends again because it's cold. I think January and February is going to be a nice months, nice cold months to smoke Latakia. But Chelsea Morning is probably my favorite English, and that wasn't always the case. I think my first love of English blends was GL Pease Westminster. And I recently had a bowl of that because I went back to it. I haven't had it in a while. And that's such a unique flavor. It's a full flavor blend. I've seen reviews where guys think it's medium. There's no way. That blend is full flavor, man. It's delicious, but it's more of a bulking, so you have more of the Oriental up front. Chelsea Morning is more balanced than that. And it's lighter in the Latakia, and I could taste the Virginia more. So that's kind of like where my taste is right now. It's a fantastic blend. So let's get into that now. First things first, this is a GL Pease blend. Like I said, he is my favorite blender. And this is part of his Old London series. So if you go to his website, glpease.com/tobacco, you'll see an Old London section. And this is part of his series that he did with a bunch of other tobaccos that I'll name now. But I wanted to read to you why this is called an Old London series, because I think it's totally relevant to getting into the tobacco. So here we go. So this is the collection. This is a description of the entire collection. The tobaccos in the Old London series are made using old-time honored methods utilized by some of the old blending houses. Whole strips, leaves with mid-ribs removed, are blended in layers and pressed into cakes and briefly matured to allow some fermentation and the flavors of the tobaccos to integrate. The cakes are then sliced traditionally and either left in flakes or tumbled into a form that is something between a ribbon and a broken flake. This method brings out and enhances the subtle nature and flavors and aromas of the component tobaccos. They're a little more work to produce, but the results are well worth the extra steps. And it's funny because I didn't read this before, and talking about the cut, because some people call this a ribbon cut, and I was looking at it and I was messing around with it, and I'm like, this looks more like a broken flake. And in this description, it says it's between something of a ribbon and a broken flake. So I totally get it. So that's from GL Pease, just talking about the Old World series itself. And this is the description on smokingpipes.com of the blend itself. I think they got this from GL Pease website as well. But it says, Pease's Chelsea Morning is comprised of sweet and bright Virginias, fragrant Orientals, a bit of rich Cypress Latakia, and just a pinch of Perique. The leaf is blended in layers, briefly pressed, and then sliced and tumbled into ribbons. Lively and engaging with subtle fruitiness and an elegant creamy texture, it's a great bowl to accompany the morning cup. So here is what I got from Chelsea Morning. I have it as, it does have a musty, there's a mustiness to it. I think I said this with Bankside too. but there's a mustiness to it where it kind of feels aged. Now the jar I'm smoking out of is a couple years old, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, I automatically started thinking of like Haunted Bookshop, and not the flavors of Haunted Bookshop, but just walking into an old bookshop, how it's just kind of got that heavy air and it's musty. Like that's kind of the feeling in your mouth from it. It's great because it makes you think it's like really, really an old tobacco. Maybe that has something to do with exactly how the blend's being produced, since it is the old London series. I mean, it makes sense that it would be called the old London series just from that alone. So when I taste this, I get the Virginias are darker. So even though it says there's some bright, I mostly get the more red Virginias than bright. I would say the Latakia is still up front, but it's not overwhelmingly up front. It's kind of they're winning just by a little bit over the Virginia, okay? So it's kind of like the Latakia is driving the bus, but the Virginia is almost trying to grab the wheel, you know? So it's kind of like a tug of war. It's kind of going back and forth between the two, but I would say in the lead is the Latakia. It's nowhere near overwhelming. There's also, I get, when I really sip it and go slow, I get the flavor, and might be towards the finish, of like a dark cherry. Almost like those marinated cherries you would put into an old-fashioned. Were they called Marciano cherries or something like that? Marcino cherries. Whatever they're called, those dark marinated cherries. There's a very subtle cherry note at the end. This is not, please don't think that this is some kind of cherry aromatic. It's nothing like that. It's just this, it's probably from the dark red Virginias, but if you sit there and sip it and you're going slow, I think you'll get a little hint of that. The Orientals are floral and they're delicious. So it gives it that extra, just something, that extra element of this nice floral tone right behind, and not floral like Lakeland. It's not that. It's just exactly how you would picture a light Oriental. And that's right underneath the Latakia in Virginia. And it's just helping carry them along. And then there's a little pinch of Perique just for a touch of spice that kind of plays off the sweet from the Virginia cherry note and the floral Oriental. And it just gives it, and it might also give it that little bit of must with the Latakia. But it's delicious. It would probably, I thought about this, and I think this is so hard to do, but what is my Mount Rushmore of tobaccos? And I don't think I could do it because there's only 4, but I feel like if in my English category, this would be in the battle for my English slot on my Mount Rushmore. There's a couple of other GL Pease blends I still haven't tried, and I've had them in the basement for years, and I haven't got to them yet. But one of them is Gaslight, which is a plug, and that's actually in the old London series. So if that is anywhere near as well done as Chelsea Morning, I'm going to love it, and I'm sure it is. I've seen reviews on Gaslight, and everybody loves it. I'm sure there's more Latakia, and it's more dark, and maybe it's more towards plum pudding like that, but I haven't tried it yet. It's been in my basement for years. And so let me tell you what else is in the old London series. Penny Farthing, which I've been wanting to try. I can't remember why I did. I think I was a little bit uncertain with the Dark Fire Kentucky because I had a couple of Dark Fire blends that the Dark Fire Kentucky kind of just overwhelmed the blend. So I was staying away from them. But I've smoked some Dark Fire, some blends with Dark Fire in it recently that I absolutely love. So I'm probably ready to get the Penny Farthing now, which is like I think it's a Virginia Perique with some Dark Fired, and it's in a shag cut, so it would probably burn pretty fast, which is fine. I would probably just, pack it a little tighter, put a little bit more in there, pack it a little tighter, smoke it a little slower. Let me just make sure I'm pretty sure it's a Virginia Perique with dark fired. So, and everybody really likes that as well. I probably have to get a tin of that. Regent's Flake and Temple Bar are in this series, and I think they're the same tobacco, except Regent's Flake is a flake and Temple Bar is a plug. But I have Regent's Flake, and it is delicious. That's a Virginia and Oriental, and I think there is a little Perique in that too, but it's really light. It's basically tastes like Virginia and Orientals. That is so good. That's so delicate. Not delicate. It's delicate's the wrong word. It's just, I would say, I would say soft, but it's just really good. I gotta try to do a review on that one too, which I'm sure I will at some point. I'm doing a terrible job of it right now, but that really is good. Sixpence, which is a Virginia Perique and dark fired, and I've had that a long time ago, but I had it when I was in my prime English smoking days. So I didn't understand it. And I wasn't sure about the topping. I think there's like a boozy topping on it. And I wasn't 100% sure about that. I was probably staying away from any kind of topped tobacco, like obviously topped, because I just thought, how when you just start learning about something, like let's just say Scotch or whatever, you think you know a little bit, so you start become a snob about it, So you hear a Scotch guy say like something like newer Scotch drinkers you'll hear them say something like, "Well, I only drink a single malt, and I would never drink a blend." So we all think like we're like that, like douchebags, like when you first start learning something, and all of a sudden you try to act like you're this savant, and that might have been me. When I was smoking Sixpence, 5 years ago, because I was just starting to understand tobacco a little bit, and I was like, well, I don't smoke anything with a topping, and now I don't care. You know how you get to that point where you learned enough where you're like, that's just dumb. If it's delicious, it's delicious. What do you, you're not as insecure about yourself anymore. So I got to get back and, try that one again. I haven't had that one in years, especially now since I'm smoking a lot of vapors. I think that would be great. Gaslight, like I said, is in this series. That's in my basement. I bought that and Spark Plug years ago, and I think I didn't open them at first because I had so many English blends open. And I feel like you should, I don't know if you do this, but I have a lot of jars open. I'm like, I got to finish these jars before I open more. And I don't know why I do that, because the tobacco is actually just going to probably age better in the jar anyway. But I don't know if I don't think it's a space thing. I'm not sure why I do it. It's almost like I have this obsession over like wastefulness. I'm always afraid. I never like wasting anything. Not that the tobacco would be wasted if I opened it and jarred it, but I feel like, nah, I guess I just didn't want to get into this cycle of constantly buying, constantly opening, jarring, putting away, going on to the next one without really giving each blend its due, like having it open and staying with it enough to understand it better. You're not going to fall in love with every single blend you open immediately. I mean, you might with some, but there's been so many times now where I've opened the blend, smoked it, didn't think much of it, and then put it away and then never gotten back to it. And I'm like, when's this, where is this going to end? Is it going to end? Am I just going to keep buying and buying and opening and buying and opening? So I always want to circle back, which will lead me to a story. Okay. I wasn't planning on telling this story today, but recently that's happened to me where I opened something, I would say a couple months ago, smoked it, was like, meh, put it away, forgot about it, recently went back to it, and this is what it was. So my office for work, okay, it's in downtown Philadelphia, Rittenhouse Square neighborhood, probably, one of the higher end neighborhoods, probably one of the higher end neighborhoods in the city, okay? Right down the street from my office is probably one of the best tobacconists in the country. All right. Have you heard of Holtz cigars? They're literally down the street. So I walk out of my door, I walk a half a block, and I can walk into Holtz. It's the best humidor I've ever been in for cigars. And in the front of the store, when you first walk in, they sell pipes and pipe tobacco. And for years, I'm 50 now. I've been going there since I was 20 and never even glimpsed at the pipes until the last 5 years. Okay. So so now every once in a while I just walk in just to see what they have. And the tobacconist there, if he wasn't there this one trip I was in there. His name's Carmen. I think he's been there for years, but I didn't see him. And this is the last time I was in there, which is like maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And I walk in. If you're ever in Philly and you like cigars, you just go to Holtz, okay? On Walnut Street, 1500 block, a Walnut. Yeah, do yourself a favor. And you can smoke in the back. They have this room in the back, and they have this older lady back there, and she'll make you espresso, and it's amazing, okay? And then upstairs is a whole other cigar bar. That's the Ashton Cigar Bar upstairs, which is a little trendy. It used to be better, but they renovated it, and now it's real trendy. It's nice, but if you want a cocktail and anything. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track, but if you're in Philly and you like tobacco, and I'm assuming if you listen to this podcast, you do, head over to Holtz. So anyway, I walk in, because I always like to just see what's on the shelf. And he's got a lot of really good tobaccos. He really knows his pipe tobacco. This is not a shop that doesn't know pipe tobacco. This guy knows his stuff, that probably runs the pipe section there. So on the counter, literally, I walk in and my jaw just dropped. He had, I think it was 4 rows of, you ready for this? All Samuel Gawith to tins, okay? He had a row of full Virginia Flake, a row of Squadron Leader, a row of Best Brown, and a row, and I'm saying row, there had to be 30 deep, a row of 1792 Flake. So I'm standing there and I'm looking, and I was like, is this for real right now? Am I seeing what I'm seeing? It took me a few seconds. So the guy that was behind the counter, I could tell, I know, I've been in there plenty. I know he normally works in the humidor. He's a cigar guy. He's like, hey, bud, can I help you with something? I'm like, I think I mumbled something, and I started pointing. He's like, oh, yeah, they just came in. And I was like, Jesus. I'm like, do I just buy these right now? I'm too cheap to do that. But, and I have already a bunch of full Virginia Flake, like in my cellar. So I didn't even touch the full Virginia Flake. I bought Best Brown because I never had it, and it's a straight Virginia, and I'm in the Virginias right now, and I bought 1792 Flake. I didn't love Squadron Leader when I first had it. I like it. I still have some, and I like it better now, but it's not something I would really cellar. And I never had 1792 Flake, so I didn't want to buy a ton of it. I just bought one, and I bought a couple Best Brown because I figured I would just put that away. That's a whole side story, and you're probably kicking yourself that I didn't buy more, and you probably hate me right now. And I get it. I'm just a cheap ass. I didn't know if I was going to like it. I know I could resell it, but that's not me. I don't want to go online and resell stuff and ship stuff. I don't really want to do that. So anyway, I get them both home. I try them both. I like the Best Brown, but I jarred it and I put it in the cellar for the summertime. 1792 Flake. When I tried it, I didn't realize it was a Lakeland. And I was like, oh, man, I don't know if I already had like Sam Gay with Lakeland Dark from years ago that I didn't love. And I was like, this is the same thing. It's the same thing, except it's got more Tonquin bean in it. And I was like, I jarred it and I had it in my kitchen above my refrigerator, I have like a cabinet full of my go-to tobaccos. And in my cellar, I have stuff that's seasonal that I don't get too much. So all my summer blends, all my English blends are in the cellar. And then up in my kitchen, I'll have like my dark red Virginia Periques right now, which I'm smoking a lot of. A couple of English blends like Chelsea Morning and Squadron Leader, and some Burley blends. Like I love HH Burley Flake. That's probably my favorite Burley. And I just started smoking again cobblestone outdoor hiking, which is a dark, really dark looking flake of burley. That's delicious. And the same thing happened to me with that, where I smoked it last year and didn't think much of it, put it away, and I started smoking it now, and it's amazing. But anyway, 1792 Flake. So I put it aside, and then if you remember the episode I did about Peretti's, number 8 slice, and it's got that essence, that it has a floral essence on it, which I thought was really good. And I started liking that. And then I started thinking about that 1792 Flake. I said, I better go back and try that because I'm starting to really like this floral essence. I don't want to say Lakeland for Peretti, but it's probably the American version of it. So I started smoking 1792 Flake, and I was freaking out on how good it was. That is an amazing tobacco. And then it's like my palate made another left turn on me, and now I'm like, I got to start dabbling in Lakelands. I got to go back, and what other blends had that essence in it? I got to go grab them. And one of them was GL Pease Stonehenge Flake, which is, it's got a very, very light topping of that. But I have that above my fridge, and I'll be smoking that this week probably. The only thing with 1792 Flake, it's so hard to keep lit. And I've rubbed it out, and I've dried it, and I've put it in a baggie with, like, I read this in Pipe Dreams, in that book, Pipe Dreams, where you put it in like a sandwich baggie with a pipe cleaner, where the pipe cleaner is sticking out the top of the bag so the bag can't close all the way. So like just a little bit of air gets in so it can dry slowly over time. I don't know if that's makes a big difference, but in the book it talks about like how you don't just want to, leave it out, on your counter for a week, So I don't know, like something about it drying too fast kind of takes away the flavor. I don't know if that's true, but these are my babies, and this is the weird shit I do to appease my crazy OCD brain and make me think I'm doing something better. And you do it too. So go ahead and laugh at me, and you're doing the same stupid shit. Anyway, 1792 Flake, amazing. And I put that away for a while, not thinking I would like it. And it's just so damn good. If it wasn't so hard to light, I would probably be trying to track it down. I'd probably be calling up Holtz, and you can call them right now too, see if they have any. I doubt they do, but I would probably be trying to track that down right now. But if it wasn't so hard for me to keep lit, I mean, it just, I'd rather just smoke something not as good, but a little bit easier to keep lit. Like, not that the Peretti's is a Lakeland, but it's got that essence. I mean, it's nowhere near the same thing, and it's totally different components because the 1792 Flake has dark fired. But I don't know, man. I don't want to wrestle with the tobacco like that. I don't want to have to I've been using matches. I don't want to use a box of matches just to keep it going. And those, if you're familiar with Samuel Galloway Flakes, they're so thick. It's really hard really difficult for me to keep going. But I absolutely love that blend. And maybe that's what will happen with some of these Englishes. And I probably love Gaslight and Spark Plug. I was dying to try when I first bought it, and that's in the basement. I have so many tobaccos to get to, guys. But that's okay. There's no hurry. I'm going to give you the couple of the other tobaccos that are in this Old London series. And I've been rambling. I don't even know how I'm going to edit this thing and if it's going to make any sense. But you are listening to one hell of a ramble right now. If you're still listening, maybe you got a deep bowl pipe right now and you still have tobacco going. So also on the Old London series, Navigator, Virginia with a drop of rum, Sextant, which is a Navy Flake, Virginia, Latakia, Oriental, and Dark Fired, and Lagonda, I think that's how you pronounce it. Lagonda, which is Latakia, Red Virginia, bit of bright added with a hint of gentle sweetness, and Meridian, which I know is another English, and that is Latakia layer with Virginia, small leaf Orientals, and then pressed, sliced, tumbled in the ribbons, It's more savory than sweet. Quiet Nights. Oh man, I didn't realize Quiet Nights was part of the series. Quiet Nights is delicious. It reminds me of Chelsea Morning, but it's definitely darker, more Latakia. And this has Arcadian Perique, probably more red Virginia. Man, Quiet Nights is so good too. I haven't had that in a while. But anyway, if you want to see more on this, just go to GL Pease's website. I'll put this link in the show notes. You can just click right on it and read about it. But this Old London series makes sense. I got to try Penny Farthing. I think that's what I want to get next because I'm so into Virginia right now. That'd probably be good for the summertime. And every review I've seen on YouTube for Penny Farthing is they love it. Their only critique is that it burns fast. But I smoke with a filter, so I kind of have a tight draw in there, and I tend to smoke slower anyway. But I think I'm going to wrap up this episode, guys. Hope if you're still listening, I'm sorry I was rambling. There's so many things I wanted to talk about because it's been a while. But I promise I want to get more of these out more regularly. I want to have guests, and I just want to have you guys on, really. I met a couple of guys on Instagram that were talking about maybe coming on. I like to just talk to different pipe smokers about what they're smoking. I don't have to be anyone famous. I just love hearing pipe stories and what you're smoking and where your tastes have gone, where they are now. I'm also interested in like time of day, time of year. Like, what do you think about it that much? Do you plan it that much? And it's not that I do this on purpose. It's just kind of like I'm following my taste buds. It's where my palate's taking me. I don't sit around too much and think, well, now it's 1 o'clock and I'm going to smoke this. It's just kind of, that's the mood I'm in. And I just happen to note the time of day and the season and what I'm drinking. I definitely plan what I'm drinking. But other than that, I'm just kind of going with it. I know there's a lot of codgers out there that just smoke the same thing all the time. And I'm sometimes jealous of that. Like, will I ever get to that point? Will I ever just be an old codger one day smoking Prince Albert in my corn cob? Because I love Prince Albert now. So, by the way, I'm definitely not going to get into too much of this right now. But I took some cobblestone hiking, which is a really, really dark burley, dark flavors. I crumbled up some of it and then mixed it mostly with Prince Albert. Man, that was delicious. That just, and I wanted those Prince Albert flavors, but I wanted something a little fuller. So I just grabbed some dark burley and mixed it, and it was awesome. It was like 75% Prince Albert and 25% cobblestone outdoor hiking. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this again. I also did it with Old Dark Fired. So I took like 75% Prince Albert and 25% Old Dark Fired and mixed those, and that was really good too. So I don't know. I'm like playing around. I'm playing around with some stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to be Greg Pease. He's an amazing artist already, and all his blends are delicious. So whenever I really, really want something good, I just smoke one of his blends. And then when I want to mess around, I'll do some stupid shit and come up with some Frankenstein blend on my own. But that's the fun of it. Anyway, guys, look in the show notes. If you want to click the link and leave me some feedback, I do appreciate it. If you want me to read your feedback, let me know and put your name in there. If you want me to read your name, I will. And reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Talking Tobacco. Until next time, guys, happy smokes.